Go live. And welcome everyone to the Vortex Energy Podcast. I am really honored today to have someone I've never met live before in person, but we've chatted over the internet. Joe Mintzer, who has an amazing story about his recovery from addiction, alcoholism, and drug abuse using meditation. And he's become an amazing expert at this now with his Sporadic Warrior program. So, Joe actually had, from a very young age, fell into the trap of drugs and alcohol, and now, after many years and many different types of facilities, he has worked past his demons, and currently, through the use of meditation, he has been able to set his mind at ease. I think that's certainly what everyone is looking for. How do you set your mind at ease? And how does it not become so much work to do that? But his project, the Sporadic Warrior Project, aims at giving former addicts, or as he calls them, survivors, a safe place to meet, meditate, work out, and perform other outdoor activities. It is his hope that through sharing his story of addiction to spirituality, that he can influence others to stay away and help them to understand that they are perfect just the way they are. So, Joe, I really would like to dive deeper into that whole concept of it, because I come across people every single day who are trying to figure out, who are using other substances, whether it's alcohol or drugs, to try to drown out all those thoughts in their head. How do you make it go quiet? And what was your big revelation? What was that moment in time when you said, "Oh my God, maybe there's something different"? What did you have to hit the lowest low, or what's your story here?
Oh, I wish there was one low. Unfortunately, there is 3 or 4 lows. I seriously wish there was only one. But unfortunately, the reality of things is that there's about 3 or 4 lows. One of those being really quick, that my family cut me off when I was younger. That was in Ocala, Florida. And the end one being where I had a massive panic attack. Tried to calm it down with a couple bottles of vodka. Ended up in the hospital.
You did say a couple bottles, not a couple swigs. A couple bottles. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Couple bottles. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It didn't work that well. My pulse was at about 149, and I ended up in the ER. And they did what any ER would do if somebody's having a panic attack. They put more medication on top of it, which is probably the worst thing they could have done.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And they just kind of released me back out. And the next morning, when I sobered up, 2 things came to mind, which is, one, I can't do this anymore, and the other is I have to find some other way to calm down.
Yeah.
And it didn't come to me right away. Meditation didn't come to me right away. It took some time, and there was about, I want to say, a month and a half between there and then actually getting laid off from the job I was at, where things were clicking in my head. I was sober, and I knew that I didn't want to drink anymore, but not the urge, but the mentality was still there. So I was like, well, how do I fix this mentality?
Right.
And there just happened to be a meditation place right around the corner that was teaching a class on anxiety. It was on Tuesday nights, and the woman who was in there who taught it was amazing. And I sat down with her, and I told her what was going on. I said I had these really bad panic attacks, which I didn't realize at the time, but were in part being caused by the amount of alcohol I was drinking. Alcohol actually makes anxiety worse.
Yeah, it certainly would. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't the brightest thing in the world to be drinking alcohol when you have an anxiety issue. But I didn't know that, and she worked me through a couple processes, taught me how to sit, taught me how to relax and breathe, taught me a 7-7-7 technique. For those who don't know, that's 7 in, hold for 7, release for 7. And after a couple times, I really started getting very into it, and I realized that this was so calming to me that the urge to do drugs or alcohol was no longer there. The urge, however, to meditate was now consistently there.
Okay.
So every morning, I started on my morning meditating. So it started as a once a week thing, and it went to an every morning thing. And then at one point, it was 2 times a day I was meditating, and different forms. It started out with guided meditation, and then moved on to now I like to use Tibetan bowls in the background, but I don't really need anything to do it silently.
Yeah.
And just through that, I opened up my mind enough from the introduction to that to start doing a lot of inner work on myself. And
Yeah.
when you start doing that, a lot of emotions come up, a lot of past history comes up. And one of the things that I discovered about myself was that for most of my life, I had lived a lie. I had lived in a tough guy role. I had a beard down to about here, long hair.
I'm trying to picture
And
that. I'm trying to. Can you do a flash picture of that? I'd like to see that.
I could send you one. I'll happily send you
I
actually think I even have one in down here.
yeah. Oh, I'd like to see it.
It was definitely not. It was a shield that I had up. And through doing work on myself and going through a couple different seminars, I realized that this was no longer who I was, and that this shield had started at a very young age, and it had come up from lack of self-respect, a lot of self-judgment, a lot of humility, or not humility, but a lot of embarrassment for the way that I felt I looked and the way that I felt people looked at me. I was a heavier set kid. I didn't grow into 6'4" until somewhere around 15. So I was a very heavier set kid, and in that time frame, there's a lot of judgment, a lot of stuff that comes up, and that's right around where I started using drugs.
Yeah.
So, so knowing that, and knowing that the tough guy role came up as a protector for that role,
right.
I remembered the sensitive, kind, caring me that was really there all along, and now I brought that person forward, and that's where I try to live in at this point in my life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So did you have help along the way? You mentioned you'd gone to a couple classes, but did you have a coach and a guide who was working with you through every step of the process, or what was your scenario there?
I did. Actually, I'm blessed enough to have my aunt, who is my spiritual guide and coach, who's been doing a lot of this work for about 40 or 50 years. And actually 40 years. I don't want to say 50, she'll get mad. People think she's older as shit. But for about 40 years, and she guided me through this. And when stuff comes up, I call her, and she goes, "Well, how does that make you feel? What's really coming up for you right now?" We work through it, and I've been lucky enough to have her through this. She's one of the reasons I'm sitting here right now with you. But along the way, there was a lot of work that was done. There was a lot of different rehab facilities. There was stuff like that had come through. And I had been sober before in my life, but I'd never been able to maintain it because I never dug to the root cause of why it was happening.
I think that's to me one of the mistakes I see a lot of people making, thinking it's just taking some other kind of pill or some herb or something that makes you stop drinking or stop taking the drugs. But the issue is, unless those underlying issues are resolved, there's no reason to actually want to stop. Does that make any sense? Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, so like you can be sober for many years. I see a lot of people all the time who've been sober for 20, 30 years, but they haven't done any work.
Yeah.
They simply stop using drugs. They haven't dealt with the issue itself. So they're not living a happy, fun-filled life.
Yeah.
They're just sober.
Right.
Some people refer to it as a dry drunk. What I refer to it as is people just living in a space in their head where they still feel shame and guilt about what they did.
Yeah.
For me, I worked through a lot of that in the past, but it was really coming to a place of just acceptance of where my life had gone, and that I am exactly where I am supposed to be right now, currently in life. And to deal with that, and to deal with all the other stuff that I'd gone through, you learn to understand and move forward with this, and just enjoy your life on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, fantastic. So what is your daily practice look like today? What do you do how does meditation fit today in your life?
It's usually twice a day. Currently, I wake up in the morning, I have the same routine. I'm a routine guy. I live and die by my routine. I'm one of those kind of people. I wake up first thing in the morning, about 5 a.m. I start the coffee. I pour a cup of coffee. I sit down and meditate while the coffee's cooling because I can't drink it when it's super hot. I will start out my morning with a Tibetan singing bowl meditation. I like to thank God just for everything that that he or she has given me throughout the night, and for protection. I like to call on the light before I start meditating.
Yeah.
And just ask that anything that is for the greatest good be brought forward. And then I will proceed into my meditation. I start out with a 7-7-7 technique.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go to a 4-4-4. It just depends on how I'm feeling that morning. Then, if anything pops up during it, or if there's anything that's in my head before I start meditating, I try to write it down to get it out of the way before I go into it.
Yeah.
And then
Great.
for me, I have a very deep meditation usually first thing in the morning, but the noon meditation that I do at lunch is much, much, much deeper. I don't know why, but
yeah, that's
the one I
interesting.
do at
So
noon,
you have a regular job, right? You have a regular job on top of all these other things you're doing. Yeah.
yes, and I'll do it at the regular job in my cube. And the people I work with, they know I meditate, so they'll leave me alone.
That's good. So how do you handle that? A lot of people get very uncomfortable when they think about doing it in a public place. How do you handle meditating in your cube? Do you put on headphones, or what do you do?
It depends on how many people are in the office that day, but sometimes I'll put on headphones, sure.
Yeah.
Other times I will just sit in silence, and I can tune into a tone and focus on that tone and sit there. It really just depends on how I'm feeling that day, and I give myself the open kind of area to do whatever I feel is right for that day. Distractions are always going to come in, and I think that when you first start meditating, it's important that you're in an extremely quiet place, that you don't do it at work. Start out definitely in your own home, but
Yeah.
after time that moves on, and you're able to practice it in a little bit more of a noise active environment, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, see, I love that you're teaching people and you're actually using this practice as part of real life. A lot of people think you have to live on the top of a mountain somewhere and that's how you get enlightenment. But enlightenment is being able to do all those things in the middle of your day and be part of that greater consciousness and still be part of this physical world that we're in.
Correct, and I think that raising your consciousness applies to meditation, but it also applies to how you deal with people on a daily basis and what kind of positive energy you bring out into the world as opposed to bringing negativity into the world. I know that me, sometimes I will create little challenges for myself over the day. One of them one time was to just pick 5 random people in my life currently that I'm grateful for and write them a quick letter and send it off to them.
Yeah.
So
nice.
That to me is a way of raising your consciousness. It's a different way of thinking.
Sure.
It's a better way of thinking.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. Yeah.
It's beautiful. There's a lot of times. So when you deal with addiction, there's a lot of times that come up for a lot of people where you have urges and stuff like that. I find that if I meditate or breathe through it, it takes care of the urge. And my hope is to teach more people how to do that, so that they have another way, another path, because there's no one path for a certain person suffering from addiction or alcoholism to get them to sobriety. There's no one way. So it's really whatever works for that person.
For sure. So how long now have you been clean?
I've been clean off drugs for somewhere around 5 years or so, and then completely off alcohol for about a year and a half now.
Okay. So once you were clean from the drugs, were you still using alcohol as kind of a crutch, or was that just part,
Well,
how did that fit in there?
Sure. Well, I want to say that really I didn't use major drugs probably until I stopped somewhere around 28. I'm 40 now, so like the way that I used to use drugs back then was very heavily on a daily basis. That went away after rehab and other things, and it was kind of like a fall off the wagon kind of scenario.
Okay.
Where like a one-time thing, and then I'd be all right. And then I had just had a couple of drinks that I drink on occasion. Usually it wouldn't get too bad. And then on the last year of that job, the drinking just got completely out of control. It went from a social thing to a wake up in the morning, do a couple shots before I even go to work kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it just progressively got worse. So what I did was what a lot of addicts do, which is lie to themselves and tell them that it's okay, that this is okay, but that's not okay.
Right.
And in reality, it's all bad. For somebody who can't handle it anyway,
Yeah.
There is no way around it. Unfortunately, I wish there was. I wish there was some pill that would make us, drink or do drugs like a normal person. It just just doesn't seem to work out that way. So any other time that happens that you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, it just turned into like I say, the anxiety got extremely bad. And now when I even think of drinking, the first thing that pops into my head is the panic attack the next morning.
Okay.
And that combined with meditation keeps me away from it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So, are you ready to dive into some quick questions, Joe?
Sure, shoot.
Great. So, what's the greatest spiritual lesson in all of this for you?
I want to say the greatest spiritual lesson for me is that you don't need pain to heal. And when I say that, it means that I can heal through laughter. So a lot of times when I'm thinking about something that's bothering me, if I start laughing about it, it's another way to work through it.
Yeah.
You can work through problems in your life however you choose, but that has been a big role for me. Trusting in God on a daily basis that I am in the right place, that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing is crucial. And that started out as spirit. It started out as life for me. I was an atheist for a very long time. And when I went back into my faith, my whole life changed for the better, just in general. Spirituality plays a role in my life on a daily.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I'll talk to God. Yeah, every couple hours I talk. I was like, you really understand, what are you trying to teach me here? I always look at everything as if, what's going on,
Yeah.
Well, okay, somebody just ran over my foot with a bicycle tire. I'll look up and be like, what was the purpose of that? Were you trying to see if I could get set off? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, those triggers. So,
Yeah.
are there still a lot of triggers for you? Are there still a bunch of triggers, whether it's specific people or specific things that come up? Are you still facing those on a daily basis?
There's not a lot of triggers, and the reason I say that is I changed my lifestyle, so I don't bring those kind of people into my life anymore. Yeah. Except for dealing with recovery, but like I don't surround myself in bars anymore. I'm not in the environment of people. If I meet up with somebody who does drugs, I'm like, great, it's fine. You do what you want to do, but I don't want to be around it.
Yeah.
That trigger seems terrible like that. However, I do have another trigger that I've been working on over the last 2 months that's just come present for me that I realized was an issue, which was I don't like being told what to do. I have an issue with feedback. I'm fine with positive feedback, but when it comes from a standpoint of negative feedback, even though it's just constructive, I've noticed that it's a defense mechanism for me to defend myself.
Yeah.
And that is not good. So I think that when you're working through your issues and you're involved in spirituality and you're involved in seminars, you're doing this kind of work, you're going to notice these things about yourself. They're going to come present. They come present for a reason, so you can work on them and get past them. And under it all, we're still human beings. We're still going to have our own little stuff that sets us off. So it's important to recognize it and just move on.
Yeah, for sure. Great. So, Joe, what is consciousness?
I think that question could be answered I can answer it as what is consciousness for me, but not as what is consciousness as a general statement for the rest of the universe. For me, consciousness is being aware of everything you do in your life, aware of your surroundings, the way that we treat people, to process what you're going to say before you speak, to listen from your soul when someone is talking to you, to respect their views, and even though they might not be your own, that to me is being conscious, to be a greater being than you were previously.
Beautiful.
Love. Yeah.
Nice. So, and what is your definition of God, Joe?
My definition of God is a higher power being that is understanding, forgiving, who has us on a specific path in life and guides us through that path and still leaves that decision up to us. I think that God, I don't want to say controls, but definitely has an influence over what is going on in my life. And I don't want to say that he ever put me on drugs, but I think that choice was there. and that my life could have gone in two different paths. And because I chose that route, which I don't regret, by the way, my life went this way, and I'm able to share this story with you. But there could have been a different path for me now. When I think of just God in general, I just think of a big loving light in the sky. I don't have a face. It's not a male or female. It's not like biblical in the sense of Jesus or or Moses even. It's just a big bright light of love and hope and just everything that's good about this world.
Nice. And so I love that definition. That's beautiful. And where do you feel most at peace with yourself?
I guess I like to stand up every morning in the mirror and just kind of give myself thanks for still being here, and to give myself some pride and that kind of to me is that. I'm very grateful for everything that has happened in my life. I'm even grateful for just being here breathing at age 40 is an amazing feat. The fact that I lived past 25, I don't even know how.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like, yeah.
I'm just happy and grateful to be here. I was blessed with an amazing family, which I didn't realize I had until I was about 35.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for every human being that's in my life, all of my wonderful friends, and all of that. So I try to live my life as grateful as possible. I try to give back as much as I can.
Nice. I love it. I love it. So, what's the spiritual book you've given as a gift most often?
I love a book called Loyalty to Your Soul by Ron and Mary Holman. That book is amazing. The first line in it is one of my favorite lines because it was right. I was still an atheist at the time, and when I read it, and the first line, one of the first lines in it, at least in the first page, was, I was an atheist for most of my life until I realized that it took as much energy to be atheist as it did to believe in God.
Okay.
And that changed my whole view on it. I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. Why was I not thinking about this earlier? So I've given that book out to a couple people. I'm looking around my house right now, looking at the other books that I have in here. I'd say probably The Spiritual Warrior by John Rogers, another great book. And The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Okay, great. Yeah, that one comes up a lot. So, I love it. What do you think happens when we die?
God, I wish I knew the answer to that, which I'm sure most of us do. I don't think about it too much, to be totally honest. I just live enjoying today, and I don't think about it that much in my life. I know that when I do go, it's when I'm supposed to go, and it's kind of predetermined in my head, so I'm just going to enjoy every day here. But if I had to guess, which is, I guess, what we're all doing, I would say I think we're just all in heaven in our happiest place. I think we're surrounded by our family who's already passed away, loved ones, maybe even a different version of somebody that you fell in love with in the past. Even if she had left you, maybe there's another version of her there that God has created for you, so you can live in whatever form of happiness you want. I like to think that we're all there in our favorite version of ourselves, the way that we see ourselves versus the way we actually are. So in other words, if you see yourself 30 or 40 pounds lighter,
I definitely do that, yeah.
That's kind of what I hope is planned for up there. I kind of hope we see ourselves in that manner. But yeah.
Great. What advice would you give someone just starting out on their path to clean living?
Move.
Move physically? Move your body, or move what exactly?
Move states.
Move
I've
states.
heard people say you can't run from your problems. I disagree with that statement. You can absolutely run from your problems. You can run. They will follow you, but you can run from the people that are associated with those problems.
Yeah.
And that environment and that community that you've lived in, it's a comfort zone. Get the hell out of it. Run as quick as you can and get away from it. For me, mine was Florida, and moving away from there was the best thing I ever did in my life. I'm not going to say that I did drugs after I left Florida, but it was definitely the start of my recovery, leaving Florida, leaving that zone of people that had been there. You know, when you surround yourself with, I'm kind of stumbling a little bit here, but your environment kind of controls who you are, right? It has a big influence
Sure.
over your life. So if you surround yourself with doing drugs and alcohol, that's where you will be. If you surround yourself with successful people, that's where you will be in life.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly believe that, you know. And for me, it was just moving out of state twice.
Twice. Twice.
But yeah, get out of there. Get out of your comfort zone. Get away from your family. If your family's an enabler for you, get away from that. Get into a different zone. It's not going to fix all your problems, but it's definitely a good start. And you can have an opportunity to become a new you. And if for a lot of people that are carrying that weight of drug addiction and alcoholism with them, they can leave that behind because there's not the entire group of people that only know them as that.
Yeah.
So when you move to a new place, you can start out as a new, you know, in a new way.
Yeah.
You're still going to be you, but you don't have to be the person that's associated with drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, another new fresh start. Yeah, it's great. So, what's the best way for people want to hear more about some of your programs, Joe? How can they reach out for you?
Sure, you can reach out to me at Mintzer Joe, MINTZERJOE, on Instagram. That's my Instagram account, and I do return replies on there. Another way is we have a mailing list set up on sporadicwarrior.com, and that is the site that is going to be set up in Denver and hopefully LA soon to set up these meetups to get people out and doing activities, meditating together, just to be in a sober environment around others who don't drink or use drugs. And I think that there's a mailing list there you can join on there, and that would be the best way to contact me. But also, feel free to message. You can message me through Instagram. You can message me through the website, and I always answer. And I'm always here for help, no matter you know what time it is. If it's late at night and I don't answer, for obvious reasons, I'm probably sleeping. But
Oh,
I'm usually
fantastic.
pretty good about returning them.
I have a couple more quick sentences for you to finish, Joe. Do you have a few more minutes?
Oh, I got as much time as you need. Go ahead.
Fantastic. So, finish these sentences. The world needs.
Love, affection, and communication.
I believe in.
An ever-loving light that surrounds me on a daily basis.
Nice. Love is.
Love is looking at someone in your life with no judgment.
Nice. How about yourself? That's what I find most people have the biggest trouble with. Stop judging themselves.
Yeah. You look at yourself. I'll tell you a quick story. So there was a point where I was doing a lot of work on my teeth, and I got all this work done on my teeth were pretty bad, and I'm in a class full of 250 people, and I'm in there, and I just got all these new teeth put on, right? There's this big smile, and I'm smiling. I'm waiting for somebody to notice, and at 250 people, two people noticed. So the reason I tell you this is what we think is our biggest downfall, others barely pay attention to.
Yeah.
So what we think is so noticeable is really not that noticeable.
Yeah. That's a great story. Right, one more. I would like to thank.
I got chills when you said that. You know, I'd like to thank my mother, my aunt, my father, my stepmother, everyone in my family, my best friend Manny that I've known for a long time, my other best friend Ryan Walker, who has been a shining light through all of this that is going on in my life. And I'd also like to, of course, thank God for everything and for keeping his or her eye out on me over time, and just to be there and know that I would, you know, be the man that I always thought I would be, and to hopefully make an impact on this world and help others. So
Great.
I could thank a million others. Those are the biggest.
That's a good. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I know I'm getting something. So.
Yeah. I am ready to forgive.
It's a hard question because I've forgiven so many people, including myself, for indiscretions over the past. That's been a lot of work that I've done, but I guess I'm ready to forgive myself for judging myself in the realm of not looking the exact way that I want to look, or not being positive on 100% of the time. So I guess, yeah, I'd like to forgive myself for being a little bit extra judgmental of myself.
Yeah, that's a very common one. That's good. And last but not least, I want my legacy to be. If you were writing your tombstone, what would you put on your tombstone?
He touched a lot of lives, but he made more lives happier. I think that laughter is really the key to us surviving. So I think that if I was going to put something on there, it'd be love is one key, but happiness. Love is the key to your heart, but happiness is the key to the world.
Oh, very nice. I love it. Well, thank you, Joe. Is there anything else you'd like to add or share with our audience here?
Just that if you're going through addiction currently, and know that you're not alone, know that there are other people here like myself who are willing to help you through this kind of situation, and that there are other resources out there. If you're not an AA or NA fan, there's other resources to help you through this, and to remember that the people who are in your life right now are there to help you and to be there for you, and everything in life is a lesson. Pay attention. You just might learn something.
I love it. And I really enjoyed our conversation today here, Joe. I really appreciate it, and I'll send you the links, the YouTube links, a little bit later today. So really, thank you for coming on. And you can all sign up on iTunes at the Vortex Energy Podcast, or see it live here on Facebook at the Vortex Healing Center Facebook page. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you, Joe, and we'll catch you all soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.